Well, what's going on, family and friends? It is the first day. It's the first of the month, and it is Community Conversations for Team and Joe in the building. WBLS NYC 100 BLK, the Black Station down here, down south, New Orleans, doing our thing. We from two different cities, but we dealing with the same issues. Not only is it the first of the month, but it is Black History Month. And I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing on today if it wasn't for my brother from another mother in the building. Brother Team, glad to
What's
have you
going on,
tonight.
Joe? How you feel, brother? I'm doing good. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing, man, I'm doing, hey, I'm doing, I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can say. I'm doing. So, family, tonight we're going to do something a little different. Let me go ahead and throw it up on the screen. We're going to allow you to be a part of all the conversations and all the great stuff we got going on. You can write this phone number down and you can call us and be a part of the conversation. All you got to do is dial 917-408-3770. I think that's right. Am I right? No, I'm wrong. Hold on. Not 3770. Let me correct that. Wait a minute. I'm wrong. Completely wrong. Let me hide that
Oh
and fix
Lord,
that.
what's
See, yeah,
going
yeah.
on?
Yeah, it's hold it. I'm completely wrong. Somebody gonna be like, I'm getting a whole bunch of calls. So let's change it. It's 917-408-3773. 3773. So you can join in on the conversation. To be exact, I'm going to share this with a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend, get a friend on. What are you doing for Black History Month, man? Are you doing anything special or spectacular for Black History Month, brother?
I just think, it's interesting, being moving around, being a little bit more in the South. I don't know what's down here, so I have to find out what's going on down here. But for programming, I already recorded a piece from a radio station in a sense of giving some history, especially with our past hosts for over 20 some plus years, Bob Slade, James Mtume, and attorney Bob Pickett, Judge Bob Pickett on WBLS Open Line program. So I gave a recording on that. But my thing is that I purchased three
Okay.
books. One dealing with Black consciousness, Reverend Sharpton's new book, Righteous Troublemakers,
Okay.
and Systemic Racism 101. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive into those books and study this month and learn some things and get a little bit more proficient, in what I do and what we do as
Right.
communicators out here. So,
Correct. Correct. So, we're in the building. Glad to have you in the building. I see a lot of folks coming in on the feed, which is great. Share this with a friend. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Write down the phone number because you can join in on the conversation at 917-408-3773. And let's start it off. Like I said, it's Black History Month. I think we should celebrate, and I posted that today on my actual social media. We should celebrate our success and our greatness every day. That's my opinion. That's how I feel about it. I feel like we
I,
should celebrate all day, every day, uh, 365, 24/7.
well, I think I said to you during the month of December that the principles of Kwanzaa is something that should be done daily, weekly. It's seven principles, and we should start off the week with those principles and do those principles because it's so important. Now, since we come on once a week, I think we could even rotate the principles around. But I
Yeah,
think we
yeah.
need to talk about those principles and live by those principles because when you live by those principles, you don't only help yourself, your family, but you help others. So that's so important. And then, as you said, Black History Month, we should use Black History Month as the place like you go to fill up for gas or recharge your battery for the remaining 11 months after till you come back full circle in a sense of planning. How are you going to do this year? What is your theme this year? Matter of fact, I think health and wellness is the theme of Black History this year. So set your theme and do that for the whole year And that's what, again, that's just an idea that I came up with. It's not, you could do whatever you want in your house, especially if you have children. Even if you say in the summer, I'm going to take some children, relatives on a field trip, a safe field trip, and expose them to Black history. And then for the adults, if you don't have children, book something for you and your significant other or whoever you want to travel with. They got a museum. They got the African American History Museum in DC. They got a slave museum about how many people have been hung, how many Black people have been hung here in America. They have a museum for that. And go to these things. There's the Black Wax Museum I went to. I cried when I looked at the wax figure of a slave master using a pregnant woman as an example to keep the slaves in check by cutting open her stomach and in her womb, and the baby that was in her stomach falls out and dies.
Wow.
This is the things that they did to us. And we cannot let other people, that's why we have to take the narrative. If we're going to do it, this is the time where they're trying to stop Black history. We have to put our foot on the metal to the pedal, and continue and push harder to keep Black history and our stories alive, and to keep the history here in America, what was done. And there's a lot of good things, a lot of inventions by a lot of our folks. Everything is just not about slavery and death and bad. There's a lot of things that Black people have created that you don't even know that you use every day. So come on now. There's a lot that can be done throughout the year, but springboard out of Black History Month.
And we're going to present that question. And if you want to join in on the conversation, give us a call at 917-408-3773. That's 917-408-3773. Do you think that we're talking enough about Black history in the schools and really in public, period? Or is this just turning to be off one of those same old type months, that really, like you said, many folks just say, well, it's February, short month, Valentine's Day on this month, President's Day on this month.
For teens' birthdays this month. For teens' birthdays this month.
Yeah, and it just happens to be Black History Month, and big ups to our girl Rhonda. Rhonda, I hope you call in. I really hope.
Yes, Rhonda.
Big up to Rhonda. I hope you call in. And Rhonda, always saying a good evening to both of us. We really want you to call in. Write down the number, because now we are taking calls from those who are listening at 917-408-3773. So tell a friend to tell a friend. We are taking your calls, and we want you to be a part of this. We want to interact. I'm sitting here because I'm in Louisiana. And of course, Louisiana has been in the spotlight for many of things. Everything from Ronald Green and the state police to Trayford Pellerin that occurred right in the city that I live in, which is Lafayette, Louisiana, to other atrocities that have occurred that are still not resolved. So it's Black History Month, when I have to keep asking the question that I asked many times: is justice just us? And how do we move forward when many of us are dealing with things that are unresolved from not too far back? Ronald Green, state police issues, Trayford Pellerin, other issues of not trusting government, law enforcement, not trusting folks that don't look like us. We had the situation with the judge who gratuitously used the N-word, and then compared the individual to a roach. Now we're dealing with, still in my city, where an individual who's in public service had the audacity to call somebody monkeys. So and when is enough's enough, and when is too much, too much?
You got a senator, and I could pull up his name, a senator, white senator, who says that with President Joe Biden on the campaign trail, said if he became president, that if he had to nominate a Supreme Court justice, he would nominate an African-American or Black woman. Well, that opportunity has come because we have a justice that's going to retire. and
Correct.
he is going to nominate, and he said he's going to keep his word of nominating an African American woman. Well, there is a justice out there, and I'll get his name in a minute. Not a justice, a senator who says, a white senator says that what President Biden is doing is an affirmative action pick. An
Right.
affirmative action pick. Do
So,
you
so, so
hear?
what? So
Let me give you that name.
a sister, yeah, look that up. So in other words, we can't have, hold it, there has been 108 Caucasian male justices out of all the justices. And I think out of all the justices, if you subtract that 108, that only leaves, I don't forget how many justices, but let's just be real about it. So you're trying to say in 2022, there is not an African American female who is qualified to serve as a Supreme Court justice. And the only reason she's getting the job is not because she's qualified, it's because she's black. Paul Mooney, God bless his soul. Paul Mooney said one time in one of his skits, and I loved it. He said, everybody want to be an N-word, but nobody want to be an N-word. Everybody wants the swagger of the N-word, but nobody wants the suffering of the N-word. When are we gonna wake up? Everybody comes to take from us and take from our culture and build on their culture and enrich their culture, but they leave nothing behind. They literally come and rape and plemish us and leave us completely depleted. Now, if you want to join in on the conversation and you feel differently or you have an opinion, give us a call. The phone number is on the screen, which is 917-408-3773. We're getting into some great conversation. It's Black History Month. It's Black History Month. Brother Fatim, what's the brother's name?
He's not a brother. He's a white senator from Mississippi, Republican.
From the crooked letter.
Humpback I. That's right. Senator Roger Wicker, Republican, who told a local radio station Friday, and he doubled down on this yesterday, that President Biden's nominee to the Supreme Court would be a beneficiary of affirmative action after Biden said he would keep his promise to select a black woman. And it sounds like somebody's calling now.
Yeah, we got somebody in. So hey, your own community conversations with Fatim and Joe. Caller, do you have a question or a comment? And
what's your name, first of all?
You're speaking to Rhonda, and I don't have a comment or question. I'm just listening in, and I heard what you said about the affirmative action. That senator, he's crazy as a bed bug. I don't know what he's talking about. But anything that we will ever do to them will always be affirmative action, because their mindset is just on the moon someplace. I try not to even think about the people sometimes with the stuff they say. It's like crazy. Why would you even say that? We've been talking about a black justice on the courts for like 15 years now, when I was living down south, when Obama was running. So I don't know what planet these people get off of unless they just don't want to hear the truth. We have to make America look like what America is.
Come on. That's what I've been saying.
And they don't want to do it. They don't want to do that. We have like people that are disabled. You have a disabled, I think her name is Tammy Duckton or something. She served in the services.
Correct.
Yes.
And she had her legs, something happened to her. She had a bomb explosion over there, wherever she was at. And she's in Congress. She's in a wheelchair, but her brain is functioning. She's not stupid. But you wanted to stay white. This country is not white. It won't be white anymore. It just won't be. And acceptance is with anything we do in life. It's like if you say, well, Rhonda, I do this or whatever. I say, well, Brother Joe, I don't know whether that be good for you, but I can't say it won't. But I will accept that you're doing it because this is for you. This is for the better. But these people want to take you back to Kunta Kinte and Hitler, and I don't know about them people. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And I'm not anybody, my children, my grandchildren, I can't, no. No. And the sad thing about it is that Fiddler and Kunta Kinte, even though they were black, they had different ideologies. And Fiddler would always say, "What this thing you call freedom? Why you always running?" And the brother said, "No, freedom. I'm running. He didn't know where he was running to, but he didn't want to be tied in. Wow. Fiddler didn't understand that. He did not understand. He said, "Why you keep doing it? You know you're going to get whipped. They may kill you, and you keep running."
Let me just say this, Rhonda. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Rhonda?
He got enslaved over here.
Yeah,
but the brother was free. He knew nothing but freedom.
Well, Rhonda, we really appreciate you calling in.
And you know,
we appreciate your comment, and we're going to definitely elaborate on it. So keep listening to Community Conversation, and we appreciate all the love you show us. So thank you for calling in.
Yeah. Let me just say this, Joe, and I just see one thing here with the callers in the comments until I think it's the mix minus. So I don't think they can hear us when we talk, but they can hear us, so that's something that we'll work on with the folks. But I think Rhonda made some excellent points of good. Rhonda, thank you for being sometime the first to log on, the first to make a comment, and the first to call in. Let me just say this. It's very interesting that in the book I'm reading about Black consciousness, and I'll share that book with you guys a little later on the sense of who the author is of that. Matter of fact, it's The Fear of Black Consciousness, and it's by Lewis R. Gordon. Wow. Lewis R. Gordon. And he talks about, he's born in Jamaica, and he says something, Joe, that reminds me of Kunta Kinte and Fiddler. Fiddler was more tradition as a Black man here in America, and being a Black man here in America, he had a different mindset. Kunta Kinte was a free man, and just like Gordon said in The Fear of a Black Consciousness, he talked about born in Jamaica, where his great grandmother and great grandfather were like the leaders of the family. They looked up to them with respect. He said that when you looked at the doctors and the dentists and the lawyers, they were Black. The people faces on the money, Joe, were Black.
Right.
The heads of the country were Black. You see that mindset? It's a different mindset than when you come into a place where white rule, and then they want you to be subservient, and they beat you down and want you to be lower than the lowest. So that's a different mindset. So Kunta Kinte and Fiddler had two different mindsets. Kunta Kinte knew about freedom, being free and running and doing this, whatever. When I say running, not running away from anything, but just being able to run free and do whatever. And Fiddler operated in boundaries due to racism and hatred. And that creates a different mindset. And then children born into that simple mindset. That's why a lot of things that we do to one another is still repercussions, and we call it post-slavery syndrome.
Wow. And of course, family, if you want to join into the conversation, just like Rhonda, the phone number is on the screen, 917-408-3773. That's 917-408-3773. We can even look at, and I want to go there because you talked about one of the bookmarks for Black History and Black History Month this year is Black mental health. And tragically, we've had some stories about suicide and individuals who have committed suicide. Everything from the Black Miss America to Regina King's, her son, to I know there was a mayor in Jersey that
Maryland
that had committed suicide. Many of us know folk, even I down south here in Louisiana, I know people who have committed suicide. And the question is, how can we be our brothers and our sisters keepers when it comes to mental health? And should we be asking the question more often, are you okay? Are just, straight up, you don't seem it. Are you okay? Because people are dealing with so much uh during the pandemic, uh post-pandemic, pre-pandemic, in the midst of the pandemic. There are so many things that people are dealing with that I think sometimes we need to start really asking the questions, are you okay?
I received a call from a young lady today, and she said that she's willing to share her story with a health professional on one of my platforms. And I told her I would. We won't go into it until that time comes. She's gonna share it. She's not gonna hold it back. She's willing to share it. And she says that if you look at her on social media, she's always smiling. She's up in the star's face, different stars, but behind that is a mask. She's hurting, she's paining.
Wow.
And she said when the Miss USA, the former Miss USA, who also left hints that she was struggling. She was struggling with age. She was thinking about getting older. And we tend to look at people that are smiling, that are pretty, that she has she's an attorney. A lot of people say, well, why? Why would they do? If I was in that situation, I wouldn't do
Right.
that. Well, it's relevant, Joe. Your life is relevant to someone else's life at the end of the day. You don't know what pain or what struggles they are going through. So yes, Joe, the question is, when we ask that question, are we ready for the real answer? Because if somebody said, because it's like, good morning, how are you? And if you say, well, Fatine, man, my car, they don't want to hear that. A lot of people don't want to hear that. They just ask that because it's the quote unquote right thing to do is ask good morning. But
Right.
no, if you are sincere in asking someone, even if you are not equipped to help someone with professional help, if they cry out to you, that's a warning sign. And you take a moment to point them in the right direction if you can't help them or listen to them, because you never know how you can save someone.
That's real talk. You look at all the people who are involved in counseling, the mental health profession. Of course, for example, every Wednesday, I do a Wellness Wednesday with Positive Choices Counseling Service. My good friend Edward Brown, who we haven't been able to for the last 2 Wednesdays because he's been dealing with helping folks. I mean, this brother's the type brother you call him, he's on his way. Does the show or him helping you mentally mean more? Him helping you mentally means not only more to him, but more to me, because there are people out there suffering and they need somebody who can listen to them. So we're going to continue having Wellness Wednesdays, and the Wednesdays we can't make it, we're going to do what we call the Wellness Wednesday Rewind, where we go back and we play one of the shows that we've already broadcast, because we've got a whole bunch of podcasts, video podcasts that are inside the bucket that we will release again, that maybe that information will inspire somebody or put them in a situation where they can go and know who to go ask for some help. Because it saddens me, like you said, here's a beautiful young African American woman, an attorney, a beauty pageant queen. To the untrained eye, she got everything going on that most folk want. She got the fame, she got the glamour, she got the glory, she got people calling her up for this, that, these, and those. But in the midst of all that, she still felt like she was so alone and so depressed that she jumped out of a 20-something story window in Manhattan
Mhm.
to her last breath. Come on, family. We got to start asking the questions. Are you okay? And like you said, Brother Fatim, be prepared to hear the
Mm.
real thing when people say, no, I'm not. And here's I just finished talking to somebody about, we got a major problem with communications. I'm seeing marriages destroyed because the wife wants one thing, the husband wants one thing, but neither one of them want to communicate. The wife doesn't want to say to the husband, honey, I need you to do X, Y, Z. And then once she says that, back up and allow the husband ample time to process it and say, okay, let me see, can I do X, Y, Z? And
Right.
vice versa. We just got people, if I can't get it here, I'll go somewhere else to get it. You know, and then we got a lot of infidelity. You know, you should really look at some of these crime stats and start saying to yourself, everything ain't because we're animals and drug dealers.
That's
There are
right.
people out there over relationships. I always say most murders happen over money, drugs, or relationship, or a combination of the three. We got to do better, family.
And
We just got to
disrespect.
do better.
And
Yeah,
disrespect too. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we just got to do better. Phone lines are open 917-408-3773. If you want to join into the conversation, 917-408-3773. And all my people out there at my HBCUs. Let me hold on. Where my hold on. Hold on. All my people at my HBCUs. I had to throw it up. Southern University, which is which is not the school I attended. I do a lot of work for Southern. I am a proud G man, Grambling State University, which did not receive a bomb threat, but a lot of HBCUs, Brother Fatim, are receiving bomb threats. In Louisiana, we had Southern and we had Xavier. Xavier is in New Orleans. Southern is in Baton Rouge. We had Howard University. We had Bethune-Cookman. We had Delaware State. I mean, come on, family. What in the world is going on? Why people all of a sudden calling in wanting to blow up our school?
Well, it's ironic. I'm not saying it's the direct cause of it, but it's amazing that former President Donald Trump spoke in Texas this weekend, and all of a sudden these bomb threats take place. See, white folks are angry, and they're angry at a lot of things. And I don't know who did this. You never know. I'll be surprised that I wake up in the morning and they say it was a black person that did it. But because
kind of like the DC sniper.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. You got to be very careful. So allegedly, I don't know who. They didn't say if they had any person in mind, this, that, and the other. But it's just amazing that all of a sudden these schools come under attack. And right where CRT, Black history, Black literature, you got legislation going on in Florida where people can't speak about Black history because it makes white people uncomfortable. And that's why I'm saying it's time for Black folks to step up. And I don't give a damn. Look, at the end of the day, y'all know that watch this show, I get emotional. And I get emotional because I don't like BS. And I'm tired of the BS, and that's why I go hard at us as a people. Wake up, folks, because if we're not on the same page, how are we going to fight the adversary? I've said this before, and I got it from our Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, where he was talking to a Black audience, and he told the young folks, y'all make it hard for me to do my job, because as I'm speaking about those that try to that keep their foot on our neck, on racism and all these isms, y'all are out there fighting one another, killing one another, and doing the bidding of folks that don't like us, doing what they want to do to us. But they say they don't have to do it no more. Their hands are clean because we're doing it to each other. Wake up, folks, because we got to respect one another so we can deal with a lot of these issues. There's a lot going on. Joe, do you know that there is 17 states here in America that is trying to amend the Constitution? Once they get 34 states, that they can set rules, they can hold a convention, and they can supersede the Constitution of the United States.
That's crazy.
But Black folks, not all, but some, we're so reactionary to things, we won't find out about this until the crap is happening. That's what I'm saying. Wake up, folks. There's a lot of things that we got to do out here. It's not just about voting. And we did a good job last time, but we got to continue to keep the metal to the pedal.
I mean, like you said, we really have to wake up. This is a time that we can't just quote King and W.E.B. Du Bois and Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X. It's time for some action. We can't just quote Huey P. and Shirley Chisholm and those great forerunners that actually paved the way that where we're at today has a lot to do with what they laid forth and the suffering they went through. You brought up about how people are uncomfortable. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think being whipped by a whip is uncomfortable? I'm just asking. Do you think being lynched is uncomfortable? Do you think being enslaved into labor where you get absolutely nothing but the benefit of you have a roof over your head and the bare minimum, do you think that that's uncomfortable? For us to always talk about what's uncomfortable, do you think my ancestors who went through this crap was comfortable when they went through it?
That's right. That's right. I saw 3 women in a picture yesterday. 3 women in a picture.
Come on.
Pulling a plow, like the plow is not the machine, but the contraption that plows
the
land. They were instead of a horse doing it back then, they had 3 black women doing this. And I know the stories. When we brought my cousin on here, he worked in a tobacco field. He worked in a cotton field along with my brother. My brother was born in 1949. And they, not that they was forced to do it, but that was how they made a living. At the end of the day, that's ludicrous of what they did to us as a people. And now, again, we can go to school, we can get an education, and we can go. And even though we got certain racisms and isms out there against us, we have better opportunities to better ourselves. Not to say that some of us have put ourselves in that position, but it's amazing that a lot of us have put ourselves in that position. A lot of folks with money, and again, you can't just wait on a group of people to come together and say they're going to do. Some folks with money do things. So that's so important, Joe. That's so important. And I just want to piggyback off what you said, folks. Joe and myself are live tonight. We're always live on Tuesday night. Joe hooked up the phone line. So if you want to chime in, give us a call, 917-408-3773, 917-408-3773. Give us a call, Joe.
And family, let's get into some real conversation when it comes to racism. What we need now more than ever is folks who don't look like us, folks who are not black and brown, talking to folks that look like themselves and saying, this is not acceptable. This is not who we are. I go back to Charlottesville, those folks walking with the tiki torches saying, you will not replace us. We need folks talking to those folks saying to them, you do not represent me. You do not represent me. We are all a part of the human race. We are all human beings, and sadly, until we get folk who don't look like us talking to folk who don't look like us, we're going to continue to have issues and problems. Because the truth about the matter is a lot of folks just don't want to come to the conclusion that their grandparents, their great-grandparents, their great-great-grandparents perform some of these atrocities on folk. They just don't want to look themselves. I work in a field where I just finished telling a very good friend of mine, what saddens me? I work in a place that when justice is administered and you are the victim, most victims always tell me in so many words the following: y'all should throw the book at that perpetrator. They need to learn a lesson. But then the same individuals, when they become in the seat of the perpetrator, they the first one saying, you should give me the most grace. You should give me the most mercy. Family, we've got to wake up and stop trying to have it our way, because all of a sudden it is a part of our bloodline. Oh, I want you to drill those who do me wrong, but have mercy on me when I do folk wrong. No, the truth about it is there were white slave owners that perform hellified atrocities to people of colors, from everything from rape, from everything from sodomy, from everything that you can name, every evil you can name in that Bible. When you hold it up and say, I'm a Christian, Those good Christians did that against black folk.
Yeah. And, Joe, I agree with you. I take it a little further. Those folks that don't look like us, and you talk about those people in Charlottesville that carry the tiki torches, speaking to them is not enough. Making an example of them are.
Come
You
on.
understand? Just
Come
like
on.
a guy just went in a store and he threw unfortunately his son was given a drink with I think peanuts in it, and this child had a reaction. He got so angry he came back to the store, but he was very disrespectful and abusive to the workers. He threw the drink at them. He called them, out their name and this, that, and other, and his job fired him. Then in New York, we had 2 police officers that were shot and killed in the line of duty. And, at the end of the day, it's not right what happened to these officers doing their job. And there was a woman that said, oh, why did they have to close the streets for a police officer? Blah, blah, blah. Well, that company fired her. So that's what I'm saying. Hell with talk now. Make examples of these folks. They're trying to make example of Whoopi Goldberg right now by coming out and making a statement that the whole thing with the Nazis was not about race. I think, Whoopi, and I understand what she was trying to say. I understand because she was saying they were both white and, and people don't realize that black folks can be racist to another black person. They can. So I'm not getting into this whole Nazi and Jews thing. We know that putting people in ovens are wrong no matter what race you are. So she apologized, but people want to go, she should be fired. And if I was ABC, but the Jews in New York, they control a lot. I think that maybe she needs to be suspended, for whatever amount of time. But firing, I don't think that's firing because she wasn't blatant with that. And I think she misspoke and she apologized for that.
Yeah, she came back. She came back today and apologized. And once again, okay. And this is where I always say you have to be very careful.
Mm-hmm.
People, and you got to know the difference between being a racist and being prejudiced. There's a lot of stuff here for team that I think people confuse the definitions and not understanding that, first of all, you really got to watch your words these days and times. Mm-hmm. And you have to ask yourself, you have to weigh the cost of what you're saying. Speaking from the heart these days and times can put you in a very bad place. You can feel this way, you can think this way, but once you utter it out your mouth, then all of a sudden people want to play it back on TMZ and everywhere else and say, this is where you stand. And I just think that people need to be more cognizant of, first of all, understanding that we are all human beings. And I always say it's going to take a day that some species from some other planet comes down here and starts eating us. Then folk gonna start saying, you know what, we're humans. There's no difference between you. We're all the same. And until that day comes, we're always going to have these lines of division, which bothers me because there's so much we could fix if we stop having these lines of division. There's so much that people of color bring to the table that could change the world. There's so much people who are not of color that have changed the world. There are people if we would look at people as people and really stick to some of the teachings of Malcolm and King, where we would measure folks by the content of their heart and their character instead of the color of their skin. And even Malcolm said one time, wait a minute, if you're aligned with what I'm aligned with, we are allies. We got to start. This is ludicrous to me how some folk, I'm not even going to say that. I'm not, but what I am going to say is we need to wake up. In my Spike Lee voice, we need to wake up. We need to wake up.
That was Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah. That was a Spike Lee, and it was a Spike Lee joint.
It was a Spike Lee joint.
And it was Lawrence going, what?
That's right.
We got a call coming in. Hold on. Let's grab this. Let me grab this call. Caller, you are live on Community Conversations. Do you have a question or a comment?
I have a comment. This is Rhonda again, and I won't bother you brothers no more because I'm enjoying what you're saying because what you're saying is on point. I have resigned myself. I love my ancestors, Malcolm, Martin, Medgar, and all. They had their time. All we know is their history. We have to change the way we operate in the 21st century. Because once these other people always say, okay, the content of their character, you have to treat people, they tend to smooth these things on us that the man meant good, but you took it for something else to really keep us in bondage. Like, okay, don't get upset. You're not supposed to get angry if I slap you. Well, guess what? Reflexes are something else, because if you hit me, it's spontaneous. I may not win, but I'm going to hit you back. And see, these people have a different mindset. And once we can get others to understand, yes, love your history, love who you are, love your culture, know you're great, love it, but move on. You're not in that time frame. We can't be stuck. And Black people are stuck.
Hell of a comment. Hell of a comment.
Thank you, Rhonda, for calling back in. Brother Fatim, I'm going to let you respond to that. Go ahead, respond.
I'll respond to that. So, and that's why she's right. And that's why, when Sidney Poitier passed away a couple of weeks ago, and when they were showing in the heat of the night, when he was playing Officer Detective Mr. Tibbs, and when that white man slapped him, he didn't hesitate. He didn't grab his face. That white man slapped him. He slapped him back. And see, Rhonda said something that I'm not scared to say.
Come on.
I'm not scared to say. And a lot of our leaders, and I understand they say it because, we're going to lead you to the slaughter and they got more guns. Hell with that. Every damn thing is on the table when it comes to our liberation. Enough is enough. If these people can be violent to us, we can be violent to them. And I'm not promoting violence, but I'm tired of putting this disclaimer on what we need to do. What Rhonda is trying to say is you can only follow a dead individual, a dead man, but so far until you understand? Martin died at 39. Malcolm died at 39. We saw them grow both. Both of these men grew. You saw Malcolm embrace more Muslims and more international, Black and white. You saw Dr. King talk about in 63, the March on Washington, about, the content of the character and hopefully one day my kids and blah, blah, blah. But before he passed, he said, I might have made a mistake and integrated my people into a burning house. So she's right. You grow. And you cannot stay in the 20th century doing 20th century damn things. You can't do the same damn method all the time. You have to change your methods and your ideologies out here. That don't mean you can't use certain methods, but you got to grow. And if you can't grow in the mindset of the 21st century, she's right, then you're going to remain in the mental chains of that mentality of slavery. And I hate to say it like that, Joe.
That's the truth, because it's all about making the proper adjustments that we achieve the winning formula, that we all come to a place that we're satisfied. Right. I talk to so many of us these days that aren't satisfied, and I understand, and we can go through the rundown of tonight. We talked about Black histories. We talked about the HBCUs. We talked about the Black mental health and racism and all of it. All I hear when I talk these type of conversations with folks is I have folks that look like you and I that are not satisfied. And the reason they're not satisfied, because where there is no justice, there shall be no peace. And I mean, what can we do to finally wake up? So we're going to go into our last part of the show, the last 15 minutes, where we're going to talk about some sports. And you're going to find out, because let me see, who is it? Is it an assistant coach from the Miami Dolphins that just said, wait a minute, your practices and how you are doing with this hiring process in the NFL ain't right. It's racist. Because we only got one Black coach. So
Yeah. So it's Brian Flores.
okay,
Brian Flores. He sues the NFL and the New York Giants, claiming coaching search was racist, and Belichick's texts prove it. And this came down today, and I'm reading from TMZ Sports right now. The NFL also addressed the claims inside the suit, calling them without merit. The NFL and our clubs are deeply committed to ensuring equitable employment practices and continue to make progress in providing equitable opportunities. That's a bunch of crap. How many black coaches do the NFL have today?
okay, one.
Thank you. Okay.
One.
Okay.
My Pittsburgh
Right.
Steelers.
Yep. Right. So
Somebody
let's
said
go.
somebody said he's a former head coach of the Dolphins. You
Yeah,
know,
I'm going to read that. I was going to
Okay.
read that to you right now. Brian Flores is going to going scorch earth on the NFL and the New York Giants, filing an explosive lawsuit where he's the former Dolphins head coach, alleges the team's hiring practices were rooted in racism, and he claims a text from Bill Belichick proves it. The 40-year-old coach filed the class action lawsuit through his attorneys. Flores says he received a text from his former boss and Patriots head coach days before he interviewed with the Giants. During the conversation, Flores says, BB, I don't know who Bill Belichick. Belichick congratulated him on landing the new gig. Flores was confused by the comment because he had yet to go in for his scheduled interview and asked Bill if he had an inside track to their decision. Belichick eventually admits he misread the information he received and tells Flores it was actually a different Brian DeBoer, who landed the Giants job. Flores insists this is proof he was only brought in for an interview to satisfy the Rodney or Rooney rule, which requires teams to interview a minority candidate when a head coaching job opens. FYI, Flores and DeBoer both worked together under Belichick in New England. That is explosive, and it's putting a black eye on the NFL, and some folks are saying that they are not going to support the NFL coming off of Colin Kaepernick, and now they talked years ago to have more black owners and black coaches, and not happening.
Well, let's be real about some things here. And anybody who wants to join in on this conversation, the phone lines are wide open. First of all, let's talk about that from this perspective. I believe just like in Chicago with the GOAT, that is San Francisco 49ers with Colin Kaepernick. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to call it. That's the way I see it. Until you do right by Kaepernick, you ain't going to see nothing in San Fran. And I got partners that are big-time San Fran fans, that are big-time San Fran supporters. But let me tell you, just like the GOAT in Chicago, until you do right by Cap, y'all ain't getting nothing. Now, with this situation, once again, it's almost like my Judge Odene situation. Judge Odene got caught using the N-word. There are a lot of folks using practices in the NFL that are probably purely racist practices, but the question is who's getting caught and who's got the receipts to prove that they've done it, because people are quick to say, well, prove it, man, because I didn't say that. And then when they do get caught, we know what happens. Right now, you and I, you a big time Dallas Cowboy fan. One of the biggest, probably controversial owners in the NFL is the Jerry Jones, because Jerry basically said, I'm going to do this my way. Jerry made some stark conversation and some real strong comments about if you decide to take a knee. Then what made me laugh was, don't they got a picture of Jerry Jones taking a knee with the team also?
Was that? Yeah, that was earlier on when Jerry did that. And, and a shout out to my friend. She's not going to hear this. It's her birthday. Sharon, we call her Shay Shay on my other show. But one of the things she pointed out, some things about Dallas. I became a Dallas Cowboy fan back in 1974 as a kid after the Miami Dolphins went undefeated and won the Super Bowl. And Yeah, that bothered me. But see, Jerry Jones could make that statement. What I do is I look at the Dallas Cowboy players, especially the black players, for
Right.
them to not to defy that. He threatened them. Yeah, threaten me if you want to. Now I'm taking a knee. Now I'm
Right.
taking a knee.
Right.
I'm
Right.
taking a knee. I'm gonna tell you in a press conference. I'm taking a knee. So what you gonna do? If I'm gonna get benched, as long as I get my money, I don't give a damn. Because at the end of the day, I gotta stand up for something, or you fall for anything. But I wanted to get your comment, but I got a question for you. I want to give you some time on, bro.
Okay, give it to me.
All right. So you kind of in the right field. So Deion Sanders pretty much is one everywhere.
Okay.
Deion Sanders was a two sports player. He played for two American teams, considered two American teams. He played for the New York Yankees, and he
Right.
also played for the Dallas Cowboys. He also played for Atlanta Falcons and San Francisco. He also played for
Right.
San
Right.
Francisco as Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders he didn't get the Florida job to coach the collegiate football team, but he did get at Jackson State. Am I correct? Jackson State.
Right. Right.
Okay.
He is Coach Deion Sanders is the head coach of the Jackson State Tigers, who are the SWAC champions from this year, who went undefeated in SWAC play, did not lose to Norfolk, and really came and showed, what I call the Deion effect, not only for the team but the whole city.
So my question to you, Shaquille O'Neal put it out there. Even though the coach on the Dallas Cowboys has one more year, would Jerry Jones be foolish or smart to hire Deion Sanders as an NFL coach? Now, there's some brewing that the San Francisco 49ers owners is also looking at Deion Sanders. Some people say Deion Sanders doesn't have a body of work, but I said there's other coaches that have been picked. The coach of the Brooklyn Nets ain't got a body of work.
Come on.
So don't tell me that crap when it comes to white folks, but then it comes to a black man that everything he's done, he has like the Midas touch, turns to gold. My question for you, Joe, as you are a big supporter and a graduate of a HBCU, and we saw what Deion has done for these young folks down there, would it be a good move for Deion to leave there to go to the NFL?
I can answer that, and it doesn't take me any time to think about it. I can be real with you. I have had the opportunity to speak to Coach Sanders. He is an outstanding coach. Like many men who work for these great institutions that are historically black, I will say the following: I believe, just like with my former employer and a guy that is very well known, Coach Doug Williams. Coach Williams was at Grambling State University while his son was at Grambling State University. And you have to understand, sometimes for you to have the blessing to be there and help develop your child, that carries a lot of weight. I personally believe that just like everything else, there's a season for everyone. I believe if the proper offer is made to Deion and God, and the key word here, because Deion is a very spiritual brother. I believe if the proper offer is made to Deion and God tells Deion to leave Jackson State to go to wherever, Deion is gone, because Deion believes in God and he believes from hearing from God. And I respect him with that. I honestly don't think that Deion, unless he heard directly from God, would leave during the time that he is in the development of Jackson State University football team, and his son is there at the quarterback position. He's got two sons there. He's got one on defense, one on offense. And I think he's there not only for his children and for the betterment of that HBCU. I really think he believes that he was called to be there by God, not only for the benefit of Jackson State, but the benefit of other HBCUs, because he constantly is trying to get us all to get to a place where it's bigger, better, and greater. And I respect him for that. Now, I'm not a Jackson State fan. I'm not a Jackson State fan. I'll be the first one to tell you that, because first I'm gonna root for the team I work for, which is the Southern University Jaguars, and I'm gonna always be a G man. I'm always for Grambling, but I see Deion doing a great deal for HBCUs in this time in this season, and I applaud him for that, because he could be just doing it just for Jackson State, but he's not. He's taking care of home, but he's making sure everybody else is taken care of also. And he brings up stuff that is bringing about a positive change and attentions to historically Black colleges and universities. So I believe that, I see a lot of folks talking this, that, these, and the third, but there's a lot of great qualified people out there that need to be head coaches. My guy from Brian Letwich from down there in Tampa Bay. There's a lot of great folk. The offensive coordinator from the Kansas City Chiefs. There are some people who need to be head coaches. I see some of these, like you said. Unfortunately, this is life, and life of being a person of color. You have to do everything 20 times better than the individual who don't look like you, only to watch them get more money, the better shot, and less criticism. The person that needs to be criticized right now in the NFL is the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. But every time I turn around, people act like he the next, he better than sliced bread. What's the winning record? Because I sure don't see it. So I believe if God tells Deion and the offer's right, Deion's gone. But I don't see it happening.
Okay, that's what I want to put out. I want to hear what you have to say. I'm torn, because what he's building, the institution, and the institution that he's building down there, and some people are looking at the impact, and they're not on just the ego. Now, Deion Sanders does have an ego. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. But he is good at what he does, and he says it, and that's who he is, and that's at the end of the day. And I've never criticized him for being, Mr. Showtime, because Reggie Jackson was like that. But at the end of the day, you want to perform. You want to perform on the highest level and the highest stage. And for him to go to Dallas and to take them to not only to the Super Bowl and to win a Super Bowl, he writes his own ticket, man, that he could be headed in a direction of becoming not only a great coach, but a owner, and changing football for HBCUs and for the NFL. So I don't know what he's going to do, but there's a lot of people in his ear. But like you said, at the end of the day, it could become between him and God, his family. So we'll see what happens. There's no offer on the table yet that we know of, but I just want to see coming from a man who supports and is a graduate of a HBCU.
I'll be very honest with you, man. I see, like with Grambling State University, them hiring Hugh, a former NFL coach. I see former NFL players and coaches being hired into the HBCU arena. And let's just be real. A lot of folks don't want to tell the truth, but there's a lot of great people that's done came from HBCUs.
Yes.
You got the Aeneas Williams, you got the Doug Williams, you've got the Air McNairs, you've got the Michael Strahan. Everybody want to talk about somebody that the other folk love dearly is Michael Strahan. That's Strahan right. Graduated from Texas Southern University from HBCU.
Yes,
so there's some great people who have went through the HBCUs, have become graduates of HBCUs, and either they went undergrad or grad school, but at the end of the day, I tell everybody, you need to get the HBCU experience if you are a person of color, just to say to yourself, and people might get mad at me about saying this, there's some things that happen at HBCUs that just don't happen at PWIs. Period. Mm-hmm. And we I know you're getting ready for your next show, which is the Tangy Tea. family, we really appreciate y'all tuning in to Community Conversations. We were trying out the phone lines and some other stuff. Rhonda, thank you for calling in. As we continue to move on and go through Black History Month, I have a campaign for Black History Month, and I want everybody to listen. My campaign is real simple. I need you to take a friend or a family member to the doctor for their annual checkup in honor of Black History Month. So many times, because we are so reluctant not to go to the doctor and get ourselves checked up for our annual checkups, things don't show up until they're at stage 4 or 5, and that's way, way too late, when all you had to do was go get an annual checkup and some things may have been caught. So I want you to live a long life. I want you to have a blessed life. Brother Fatim, I'm going to give you the final words for tonight, brother.
Yeah, let me just say this. A shout out to my man that's on there, Brooklyn Tough, Brother D. That's I called him my little brother back in the day out of Flatbush, Brooklyn, and we did our thing back then, baby. And you try to mentor the young guys, but he was a star blossom, and he was his own man, him and his brother, man. So I just shout out and thank you for that. And at the end of the day, I always say, folks, do something. It's Black History Month. Do something that is long lasting. Long lasting. So I thought of one thing tonight. Create a book list and recommend that book list to some young folks and to some adults out there that you may have read, that other folks could gain some knowledge of. And I think that we should share those book lists so that the books that we are not familiar with, someone else shares with us, then we can get some other knowledge from other folks out at the end of the day. And just learn, be better. And like they say, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. You don't want to be dead today, because at the end of the day, you didn't learn anything. So that's my last words for folks tonight.
All right, family, we're getting ready to get up out of here. Tomorrow night, we will have Wellness Wednesday, where a healthy you is a better you. Your mental health does matter. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I know that my brother has the open lines. To be exact, run down all the stuff.
Okay, so I do on WBLS 107.5, WBLS or WBLS.com, Sunday morning, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the radio. I have open line with my co-host, Jennifer Jones-Austin. Then following that, about 10 a.m. on the WBLS Facebook page is the open line online, the second hour. Then Wednesday night, from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, open line online returns back doing those programs. And of course, Tuesday night at 9 p.m., I joined to do Tangy Tea on Tangy Tea of Life Facebook page and YouTube. And then on Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m., back with Tangy Tea. And of course, I'm here every Tuesday night with my man Joe, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time.
So, family, we're getting ready to get up out of here. Definitely, if you want to hear some great music from the 80s, the 90s, 2000, and today, go to www.the100blk.com to be exact. I'm going to throw it up there where you can see it. It's our new website. Not only do we, let me make sure I show that. Yeah, there it is. Not only do we have that, but we also have our sister station, which is Praise 100, which is the best in inspirational music. Look, we're here to show nothing but love to our people, our community, and talk about the issues that matter to us. With that being said, God bless, good night, and we'll see y'all next week if God say the same. We up out of here. Peace.
Peace.